On the Origin of Species, Charles Darwin, 1859. In this work, Darwin substantiates the theory of evolution through natural selection. The main ideas of the book: all species of living beings originated from common ancestors. Natural selection is the main mechanism of evolution. Those who are better adapted survive. The changes occur gradually over millions of years. The adaptability of species explains their diversity. The book caused scandals due to contradictions with religious views and was banned in many countries. American Psycho. Bret Easton Ellis, 1991. The main character, Patrick Bateman, is a successful young banker from Wall Street, living in a world of expensive clothes, elite restaurants, and empty conversations. However, behind the facade of a perfect life hides a maniac killer committing horrific crimes, murders, and tortures. The book is a satire on the consumer culture of the 1980s, where material values have replaced human feelings. It remains unclear until the end whether the murders are real or just a figment of Bateman's imagination. It was banned in Germany, Australia, Canada, and New Zealand. Lord of the Flies. William Golding, 1954. A group of British schoolboys ends up on an uninhabited island after a plane crash. They try to create a society, but without adults, everything turns into chaos. Gradually, the boys turn into savages, killing each other. The climax is the hunt for Ralph, but they are saved by the appearance of an adult soldier. The novel shows how civilization collapses if its external constraints are removed. It was banned in the United States, Canada, the UAE, and Turkey. Tropic of Cancer. Henry Miller, 1934. This is autobiographical prose describing Henry Miller's life in Paris in the 1930s. The main character is a poor American writer who leads a dissolute lifestyle, engages in creativity, and reflects on the meaning of existence, love, art, and sexuality. The book is filled with naturalistic scenes, candid reflections, and harsh criticism of American society. The novel was banned for almost 30 years in English-speaking countries due to explicit scenes and criticism of bourgeois morality. The Picture of Dorian Gray. Oscar Wilde, 1890. The young, handsome Dorian Gray becomes the muse of the artist Basil Hallward, who paints his portrait. Under the influence of the cynical Lord Henry Wotton, Dorian wishes to remain young forever and let his portrait age. Now the wish comes true. Dorian leads a debauched and sinful lifestyle, and the portrait darkens and distorts, reflecting his sins and vices. In the end, realizing his corruption, Dorian stabs the portrait with a knife but dies himself, and the painting returns to its original state. And the quote says the punique was spent in 19 United Kingdom, Ireland, China. 120 Days of Sodom. Sekimactus, Tumati Majid, Solidation of Funsons Runset, Tortu Managing Budget Looked de, Setting the Fafter Chain with Sala, Tessa Dase, Pulshigatin 4, Tuliti the 80s, Tension Tom Fala, Tatla, Parsatini Klausen, Sarda Sosta, Sarsha, Bishon Jorshin, Decker Recordarsin Castle, the Wilta Sardi Vegas. They followed a strict system of debauchery, each day intensifying the torture and sadism. The story consists of 4 parts, each dedicated to different levels of perversions. The novel is unfinished as it was written in the Bastille before de Sade's arrest. The book represents a philosophy of absolute humorously, rejecting morality and laws. This novel is one of the most scandalous in history, having been banned in many countries such as France, the United Kingdom, Germany, the United States, Russia, and Australia. Animal Farm. George Orwell, 1945. Farmer Mr. Jones mistreats his animals, and they decide to start a revolution. The pigs take the lead, creating a new society based on principles of equality. But gradually, the pig Napoleon seizes power, imposes strict rules, and turns the farm into a totalitarian state. The slogan, "All animals are equal," eventually changes to "All animals are equal, but some are more equal than others." The novel is an allegory of the revolution in the USSR and the transformation of socialist ideas into a dictatorship. It was banned in the USSR, China, Cuba, the UAE, and the United Kingdom. Oh, Brave New World. Aldous Huxley, 1932. The action takes place in a future world where society is controlled through genetics, consumption, and entertainment. People are grown in incubators, divided into castes from alphas to epsilons, and raised in the spirit of happiness through consumption. To avoid suffering, citizens take soma, which suppresses any negative emotions. Art, religion, and personal relationships are abolished. The main character, Bernard Marx, is dissatisfied with the system and brings a savage, John, from the reservation, who admires Shakespeare and traditional culture. However, he cannot adapt to the new world and ultimately takes his own life. The novel criticizes hedonism, technocracy, and the loss of freedom in exchange for comfort. It was banned in Ireland, Australia, the United States, India, and China. 451 Degrees Fahrenheit. Ray Bradbury and the year 1953. The action takes place in the future, where books are banned and firefighters burn them. The main character, Guy Montag, works as a firefighter but gradually realizes the value of books. He meets a girl named Clarissa who makes him think about the meaning of life. Under the influence of these reflections, he begins to read banned books. His wife reports him and Montag is forced to flee. He finds a society of book people who memorize text to preserve knowledge. In the finale, society is destroyed by war, but there remains hope for the revival of culture. The novel was criticized for its critique of censorship, religion, politics, and violence. It was banned in the United States, the USSR, China, and the UAE. Naked Lunch, William Burroughs, 1959. The novel consists of disjointed episodes from the life of the addict William Lee, traveling between the United States, Mexico, and the fictional country of Interzone. The plot is nonlinear and consists of a stream of consciousness, chaotic scenes, perversions, grotesque characters, and satirical images of power. Burroughs wrote the novel under the influence of substances and created the first open text in history, which can be read in any order. The novel became one of the most scandalous books of the 20th century due to its explicit depiction of drug addiction, violence, and satire on society. It was banned in the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and South Africa. Lolita, Vladimir Nabokov, 1955. The main character, Humberti, is an intelligent but mentally unstable man obsessed with young girls, nymphets. He falls in love with 12-year-old Lolita, and he enters into a complex manipulative relationship with her. After her mother's death, Humbert becomes her guardian and starts traveling with the girl across America, keeping her in psychological captivity. However, over time, Lolita distances herself from him and runs away with another man, the mysterious Quilty. Humbert, deciding to take revenge on Quilty, tracks him down and kills him, for which he is arrested and soon dies in prison. Lolita dies in childbirth. The novel caused a worldwide scandal due to its theme. Although Nabokov himself did not justify the behavior of the main character, it was banned in France, the United Kingdom, Argentina, New Zealand, China, and Russia. We, Yevgeny Zamyatin, 1920. The action takes place in a totalitarian society of the future where people live under constant control, are called numbers, and are deprived of personal freedom. The main character, Engineer D503, is building a spaceship called Integral, intended for conquering other planets and imposing the ideology of the unified state on them. But he falls in love with the revolutionary I-330, who involves him in a conspiracy against the system. Gradually, Depre Sezeng Cesara Espagnases Bahatures D503 begins to doubt the correctness of the existing regime. However, the uprising fails. The main character undergoes a psychosurgical operation and becomes an obedient citizen again. Was banned in the Soviet Union, Germany, the United States, Spain, and China. Slow to House 5. Kurt Vonnegut, 1969. The main character, Billy Pilgrim, an American soldier who survived the bombing of Dresden in 1945. After the war, he suffers from post-traumatic syndrome and claims to travel through time. Billy asserts that he was abducted by Tralfamadorian aliens who teach him that time is not linear, everything happens simultaneously, and death does not matter. The novel is a mix of autobiography, fiction, and satire in which Vonnegut condemns the senselessness of war and the impact of violence on the human psyche. It was banned in the United States, Turkey, Latvia, and the United Kingdom. On Norwegian Wood, Athien Tertastre the Ashnaz, Go Haruki Murakami Taitiki, 1987, or the main character Tonu Watanabe recalls his youth in Tokyo in the 1960s. His best friend Kazuki took his own life, and Toru becomes close with his former girlfriend Naoko, a fragile and depressive girl. Naoko goes to a psychiatric clinic and Toru meets the energetic, free-spirited Midori, who becomes his opposite. He is torn between the past and the future, love and loneliness. The novel is filled with themes of death, depression, loss, sexuality, and coming of age. It was banned in banned in China, South Korea, the United States. If you want to discuss this video or suggest an idea for the next one, join to my channel